There's a pretty one, Ulysses. There it is.
Hello BookTube, I'm Sean the Book Maniac. Welcome back to my channel. I have been fooling with the lighting down in my parents' basement in Saskatoon, and I can't get anything to work out, so this is as good as it's going to get today, people. When I previewed it before I had my shower, there was no glare in this position. After my shower, I have glare. What the hell? So, deal with it. I am horrifically jet-lagged and happy to be with you. It's about 6 a.m. and I thought about going out. The sun just came up, or it's cloudy, but the sunrise was about 20 minutes ago, and I thought about lugging all my equipment out in search of a park bench, because it's too early to film it on my parents' patio because they're sleeping. But I just don't have the brain power for that on my first day. Maybe later. So I'm sitting beside the guest bedroom downstairs, and the only place to put my cup of coffee and my microphone is balanced precariously on an old photo album of my grandmother's so that they don't fall over. So I have to pick the books up off the bed and especially put them back down on the bed very carefully so I don't upset everything. Oh my goodness. What a production. Flight was uneventful. Here I am, and I have stuff to tell you about. Oh, and in terms of Saskatchewan content, there will be a vlog coming, not necessarily soon, for Doris's vlog tag. I will be filming it, I think, in its entirety while I'm here in Saskatchewan, so stay tuned for that. My Women in Translation month got off to a bit of a rocky start in that I had two bails. The first one that I will tell you about, I didn't bring either book. And the first one I hinted at last week, so nobody should be surprised that I bailed on Waking Lions by Eilert Gunder Goshen. I just didn't like the I kind of actually hated the writing. There was something really superficial, commercial fiction-y about it, and it was a very serious story. And so once, within maybe chapter 2 or early in the book, the accident where the Israeli neurosurgeon accidentally kills African migrant worker driving home bleary-eyed after a 18-hour shift at work, and then runs away, tries to evade responsibility. As soon as that scene was being described, I knew I was done with this novel, because just the way that it was written, it drove me crazy. It just made me kind of angry in an American marriage kind of way. It's like, I don't know how to say more than that, and I have a good excuse today not to be particularly profound. I'm so jet-lagged. I bailed just a few pages into that one. Not my cup of tea. I have pre-filmed my little rant about the second one, and I will paste it in here now. Hey guys, so here I am. It's Wednesday night. I fly tomorrow. I haven't started packing yet, but much more important than packing takes 12 minutes. If you need more than 12 minutes to pack, you're doing something wrong. So I'll do that when I wake up tomorrow. Right now I'm enjoying an after-work glass of wine, and here I am filming a little soundbite so I don't have to haul this book to Canada just to tell you that I bailed on it and then bring it back to Tokyo. That doesn't make sense. So here's why. I had high hopes for this. She won the Not the Nobel Prize last year, and I'm not really sure why at this point. I read 3 chapters, and I was disgusted by how lame the characterization was. You know, characterization means a lot to me. I'm not going to give you too many names here. The protagonist is Dusaka. Okay, I'm not going to give you anybody else's names. He is the right-hand man and chief courtier of the king of the Segu kingdom. You don't need to know the king's name. They have been friends since childhood. He's worked with him. He's the most trusted advisor. But there is a lot of court intrigue, and Dusaka has rivals at the court. Everything that you learn about the king in the first 2 chapters suggests that the king is powerful, savvy, doesn't suffer fools gladly, and reads people well. And then in chapter 3, after Dusaka goes home to see his latest newborn son, the other rivalrous courtiers suddenly attack the king with their agenda
to turn him against Dusika, and they've been friends since childhood, trusted advisors. Now, Dusika's wife was a member of the other clan in the kingdom, which
The king's father
had conquered and defeated. But the king has known this about Dusika. He knows the wife, one of Dusika's wives. He has come to terms with it, and I'm assuming that the rivalrous courtiers have been working on him ad nauseum in the past. And suddenly they give him the same reasons. Oh, Dusika's a traitor, Dusika's a traitor. Page 24. The king says, I don't believe you. Then we get one paragraph of backstory about the relationship between the two clans, and then the most rivalrous courtier says, Master of Energies, make no mistake. That other clan has never given up wanting to defeat you. They will stop at nothing. That's the dialogue. So that magical bit of dialogue convinces this king after all these years that Dusika is a traitor, he says. Dusika is my blood brother. We were circumcised on the same day. Why? What can he get from betraying me that I can't give him? And he is persuaded that Dusika is a traitor by that lame dialogue with no, what? I bailed because of that scene at the end of this chapter. This has all the character development and nuance of a fucking comic book. Not for me. Yeah, I mean it.
Alright, so that happened. That was disappointing. I'm happy to say, and because I don't want to take the time to edit a longer video this morning, I'm not going to give you an update on the books currently in progress, other than to say that 2 out of 3 of them are going really well. The one that I'm still not sure about, less sure than I was last Friday, is the Natalia Ginsburg Family Lexicon. I'm not sure. It's kind of fluff and nonsense, really, but entertaining. This is incredible. And this is absolutely incredible. So those 2 are big successes. So as I predicted, I haven't started anything, but those 3 are still in progress. I finished a couple books. One was disappointing and one was definitely not disappointing. The disappointing one was The Pisces by Melissa Broder. Now, keep in mind, I was doing this solely on audio, and it was narrated by the author, Melissa Broder. And I thought it just went down the toilet by the end. I absolutely hated it. Really, as soon as the merman was introduced. So that's my fault. I had heard that there was a merman in it, and I'd forgotten that, because I'm really good at forgetting things about plots, because I don't want to. I want to go in blind. But it just became ridiculous after the merman came in. And if this had been an audiobook narrated by a different narrator, I would cut a lot of slack and say, the way that the narrator interpreted the story didn't really work for me, but maybe if I had read it, it would have been different. But here it was the author. So I don't know if you remember, I said that I loved the audio narration, and Broder had a really unique intonation that just injected that biting humor into every line. But yet I also felt like there was something subterranean going on that wasn't just satire. So I was really enjoying it, the tension between those 2. But she was so funny. And as I'm serious, and any of you who have listened to the audiobook, I would love to hear your thoughts. But as soon as she fell in love with the merman and found out that he was a merman, Melissa Broder's voice, her audio narrator voice, changed, and that that was so funny completely disappeared from her narration of the book. And so she treated it as a serious, meaningful, psychologically compelling love story and heartbreak. There was no more humor after that. Now, people who read the book might have a very different interpretation, but my thesis here is that Melissa Broder intended it to be, by the way that she read the story to me, to be a serious love story about falling in love with a merman and then coming to a whole bunch of just puke-worthy psychological insights that she intended the reader to take seriously and identify with and root for the narrator, and that just left me cold. I hated it. I also finished on the plane, on audio, Sons and Lovers by D.H. Lawrence. And first of all, I have had a mental blank about the title of this novel, and last week, I think I called it by the correct title, Sons and Lovers, but I put up the Women in Love gif. I'm sure some of you may have been confused, but I don't think you probably cared one way or the other, but I confused my buddy reader, Gwen, in some text messages in the last few weeks, and she said, which one are we buddy reading? So it's Sons and Lovers, and I finished it. A masterful audio book done by unabridged, done by Paul Slack. So I read along while listening some of the time, but his narration was so powerful that you didn't really need the text. And I don't say that very often about audiobooks, so this is one that I would say. And I had some misgivings about the novel in the first, throughout a lot of it, but I thought it was all tied up so wondrously in the end that I gave it 5 stars. It was a little bit too psychoanalytical. It was written 1913, so psychoanalysis was just kind of not really quite a thing, right? That's what I've done a little bit of research, enough to think I'm correct in saying that. But it was infused with a lot of the characters, especially Paul, the protagonist, analyzing people using psychobabble, and I didn't care for that. It was a little bit too much for me, but it probably wasn't too much for most readers. And that seemed to be more in the middle section. The tone of the 3 sections was, some people say it's only 2 sections, and I don't have the brain power to explain all that, but that didn't become a problem by the end. And I thought the characters were so incredibly nuanced that it was almost a problem, because the men, they loved their women, but they hated their women. They kept going back and forth, and so there was quite a bit of misogyny in it. But ultimately, I came to the conclusion, along with many readers, that this is not a misogynistic tale. And in fact, it has more focus on the female characters than on the male, which made it better, because women are inherently more interesting. And the character of the mother and the relationship she had with both sons, but especially Paul, because that relationship lasts longer. I won't say any more about why. It was so complex and some weird stuff that didn't pull me out of the narrative, but just made the story that much more curious at the end. Wow! I don't know that I would read anything else by him. I think one and done, but this one was unforgettable. Yeah, I loved it. So those are the 2 that I finished. So in terms of, I have 2 buddy reads coming up. One is the 2nd volume of the Cora Sandel trilogy. This is Alberta and Freedom, translated from the Norwegian by Elizabeth Rokkan. And last year for Women in Translation Month, I read the first one, Alberta and Jacob, one of my top reads of last year, and so I've been so excited. And this will be a buddy read with Celia. So I think I'll be starting it tomorrow, something like that. And I'm also starting today. I think I'll get a little bit of a start with the time zone difference. Britt and I are starting either today or tomorrow, because she's in tomorrow and I'm in today, kind of time zone difference while I'm here in Canada. The novel translated from the Welsh by Kate Roberts, Feet in Chains, translated by Katie Grammage. And I've been looking forward to reading this novel since I read her biography. I started it last Women in Translation Month. And this will be my first fictional anything by Kate Roberts. And I'm so excited. 1936 novel. Those 2 for sure. Oh, no, one other that I will start is this Faber story. Brian Aldiss' 3 Types of Solitude. I don't have high hopes for it. I think it's sci-fi. What the hell? There's a good chance I will also start this Yūko Tsushima's Child of Fortune. It's a short one, so it's one I could probably even finish while I'm out here. Possibly. And just because it's small, I tucked this in my suitcase. Veronique Olmy's Beside the Sea. So those 2 possibly. Otherwise, today I'm going clothes shopping. Oh, speaking of clothes, I'll show you my t-shirt. I don't like to show too much of my body here, but Saskatchewan, easy to draw, hard to spell. If you don't know what this draw part is about, Google a map of Canada. This was a Christmas present last year. Kenji comes tomorrow night, and tomorrow lunch I'm meeting my friend Gwen. We're doing some bookstores, we're having lunch, we're going to have our buddy read discussion about Sons and Lovers, so it's going to be a great day, and today I think I'm going to need a long afternoon nap. That's all for now. Hope you're doing well. Are you? Tell me about it. Thanks for watching.